Have you got your horn nearby?
I do.
Let's follow up on the stuff we were talking about last time first.
I I went through the first 10 exercises, um, tried to correct everything, and it was it was good practice.
Right.
So I don't know if you want me to hold it up and show you. I don't know how well.
Yeah, okay.
See that. I don't know if the lighting is good.
That's all looking good at the top of the page. Yep.
Um,
Uh-huh. Hold your page a little bit higher now, so I just want to see it a little bit farther down. Yeah, okay. I wanted to see what you did on the beginning of that fourth line. Because you kind of get in a habit of going, okay, I can go slur two, tongue one, da, do, da, da. But then when you get to that one, do,
uh,
do, 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 the middle note's the top note of the contour. So now you got to tongue all three notes. I think
yeah,
that's what you've
yeah,
written. Yeah. Okay, good. Let's look at number three.
yeah. I'm trying to remember. There was one or two places I had a question. I'll see if I can remember what they were as we're looking through it.
Oh, okay. Something to talk about here in a second. Okay, so on the end of the fourth line there, it looks like you erased your dot mark on the first note of the last measure. Is that right?
So are you talking about right here?
Yeah. Is that a dot mark or did you erase it? It looks like
Oh,
it's
that
not
was a
nearly
dot
a
mark.
mark. Is it?
I think I had something else there that I did erase something above it, but yeah, there is a dot mark there.
Okay, so that could go either way. I don't know if we talked about the situation. When you have one quarter note by itself on the downbeat like that,
Mhm.
it can go either way. It could go da, do, dat, or it could go dot, do, dat. Either would be valid.
Oh, okay, okay.
You could go either way with that. Most quarter notes are dot. So you got the measure before that, you got dot, dot, do, do, dot. Right.
Hmm.
And if they're syncopated for sure. But when you got one on the downbeat like that, you can do it either way that makes sense to you. So you're going dot, dot, do, boo, dot, dot, do, dot. That's kind of a lot of dots all in a row.
Yeah, it is.
I'd be inclined to go dot, dot, do, dot, do, dot.
Okay, that makes sense. That
Just
makes
because
sense.
that phrase kind of needs a long note somewhere.
Right. Just kind of, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now look at your second line, first measure moving into the second measure. You've got do wah indicated there.
Uh-huh.
That is incorrect. Why wouldn't that be a do wah?
Oh, I guess it's just because it's not. Uh, oh, it's on the wrong part of the beat, isn't it?
You got do do dot. Okay, your wah is a downbeat. That never happens. The wah is always an
Right.
upbeat
On
note.
the upbeat. Right. Yeah.
Over. Yeah. And so it's also there's no I mean
No tie.
there's not a tie there. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a good indicator that it's on the downbeat, not on the upbeat.
This is why we're doing this because then we can catch little things like that.
Right.
Okay, good. Let's look at the next one, number four. Do do dot do dot do. Okay, again, you mark that one short, and again, it's a single down. That's your third measure.
Oh yeah.
It's a single quarter note. It could go either way.
Okay. Yeah.
Since we marked it long, I probably would go long. But if you think about also the context, do dot, you marked that one is you left long. Do dot do, at the beginning. Do dot do dot do. See, now it wouldn't really match. Do dot.
Yeah.
Okay, it could be played either way, but your measures three and four should match your measures one and two.
Yeah. That makes sense.
We should be consistent with ourselves, whatever we initially decide. As long as the figure's the same, it should be played the same.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'd probably leave all those long, those downbeat quarter notes that are by themselves. I'd
Yeah.
probably leave them long in this case. Could they be short? Yep. They could be dot. Then you just have to ask yourself, What do I think sounds better melodically? What do I think works better? And it can go either way. That's where we could decide it two different ways, and we're both right.
Right. Yeah. Which there's plenty of that in music.
Yep.
I think often it sounds like often the trick with style is knowing where that's the case and where that's not the case.
Yeah, that's right.
Cases it's not the case. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, so that's the main thing on that, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Do that. Do that. Yeah, so it's just the same comment all the way through that one. I think that you could either make those long or short.
I wasn't sure if you had a way of notating the bois, so I just kept writing bois in there.
Yeah, it's the only way to notate it really is that it's the dotted quarter note upbeat with an accent on it. But if you write bois on it, that makes it clear. That's good. So again, your very first note you've marked short. It could be long.
Okay. Yeah.
Do dat blah do dat blah do wah dot do dat blah dot do dat blah dot do wah. It could go either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see it, yeah. Do that blah do da do. Yeah, I think you're seeing the do-wahs. They're good. Do that blah do. Yeah. Okay, that looks good. Do dot do dot do dot do dot. The do is fine, but if you did short dot do dot do dot do dot, it works. In my mind, it's a lot of dot, and
Yeah.
I would probably opt for the long note to give it a little bit of variety, a little bit of relief. But do dot do dot do dot. See, would be just as fine, and I think maybe a little more melodic. But looking at the second phrase, do dot do da do ah, good. Do dot do do ah. Do dot do dot do dot do dot do ah. That should be a do ah. I think you wrote it do ah.
Yeah.
I can't tell what you've written over
Right
this.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
the do-wah, yeah, right there.
Yeah, okay. Just looks fuzzy. Okay, good. Yeah. So probably most of the dots you wrote in there, I'd probably leave them do since they're downbeat quarter notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And really, how do you know how to decide that stuff? You know, a lot of it just comes from listening a lot. But it's fine. Yeah. So yeah, we got to get rid of all these slurs. Do dot, do dot, do dot, blah, do dot. Yep. Dot. Did you? Oh yeah, you did. I can see the line. Okay. Do dot, do dot, blah, do dot. Yeah, it's all looking good. Move it a little bit higher, and I'll just look just a little lower for a second. Yeah, it's pretty much all the same. Oh, and you caught the ghosted note. Dot and do dot. Good job. Yeah.
I was trying to, I was, one of the questions I had about ghost notes, there was a couple times, I mean, the examples and stuff in your book are usually just basically stepwise down and coming back up. But there was a couple places in here where I noticed there was like a large skip, like a fourth or a fifth coming down and then coming back up. Would you still ghost that?
So let me say it this way. We've been talking about how the highest note in the contour gets accented.
Yeah.
Typically, the lowest note in the contour gets ghosted.
Okay. So pretty much whenever it can, when it's on the bottom.
And it doesn't matter whether it's a skip to it or whether it's just barely a small amount.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. That's kind of what I was gathering. I just want to make sure. Oh yeah, here's an example of that right here where
Yeah. Yeah, the C sharp really is a ghosted note. Dude and do dot. And we didn't really talk about ghosted notes last week, so you were quick to catch.
That was from your video, the saxophone articulation one.
Yeah.
Great video. It was
and I think if you watched that, then you saw that I illustrated how I do that with my tongue. Dude is like an end tongue.
Yeah.
Do dot, or what we call a half tongue. And you can imitate that on the brass too. You just have to kind of practice how to figure out how to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's looking good. I had Austie Robinson in my class a little while back. Did you ever know Austie?
No, I didn't.
Fine trumpet player. jazz player, and we talked about these effects and stuff, and he says, "Yeah, I can do that on the trumpet the same way."
Yeah.
Uh,
Makes sense.
Why do 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 why why do 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 why good why do boo do why why do boo do why. Yeah, that's all looking good. Move it up a bit higher. Want to
Mhm.
see what you did down. Yeah. Why da ba do wah why da ba do dot boo ba do dot. Yeah, good. Ba do ba do wah no. Yeah, that what is that? The fourth line down, and I can't tell which line it is. The one right in the middle of the page, right one more line down
This one here. Yeah.
over another measure where that has that tie across the bar line.
Uh-huh.
Go another measure.
Right
Yeah,
here.
right there. That tie across the bar line. Some people don't recognize that. Yes, that should be short. But see, that's a
Yeah.
syncopated quarter note.
Yeah.
Syncopated quarter notes always dot. Yeah. And that means you got to tongue the note before it. Ba do 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 dot. And you picked up on that. Looks good.
I did spend a minute looking at it though. I was like, wait a second, this is this is a little different, but
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at 10 for a second now. Do dot dot do dot do dot dot. Good catch on these marcato horizontal accents that need to be vertical. Do 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 dot do dot. Oh yeah, good. And you caught this too on your third line down.
Mhm.
The tie into the second measure or the last measure of that line
Yeah,
has a dot marked on it.
right.
But you fixed that. Good job because you can't do dot on a note that's bigger than a quarter note.
Yeah.
That's a dotted quarter note. That's never going to be dot. You can't do dot on a note that's bigger than a dotted quarter note. I mean, the bigger than a quarter note. So
Yeah.
that is a doo-wah, and you did the right thing there. Good job. And you're right that these three quarter notes in a row, you go dot, 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 doo-wah. It also works kind of to go dot, dot, doo-wah. You could do it that way if you felt like you liked it
Mhm.
better.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see your bottom measure, the very bottom line. Do-wah, do-do, boo-dee, dot, dot. Good. Yeah. That doo-wah second to last measure,
Uh-huh.
the eighth, and then the dotted quarter. That is a doo-wah. That would be in what I'm calling the third category of doo-wah.
Uh-huh. Where
Did
it's the same pitch.
you looked at all three of those
Yeah.
categories, right? That'd
Yeah.
be category two, where you're kind of do more of a da-wah, kind of a little bit of a U, a dip. Da-wah, da-bo-dee, boo-dee, da. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
All right. That's looking very good. I think you should go a little further now and take the next 10.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
And there's something to know about the last one. Let's go to number 20.
Okay.
This is an unusual, well, it's not that unusual. You're going to run into this.
Okay.
Triplet 16th figure.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
Now, in a classical setting, that triplet would be on the downbeat, diddly da, and the eighth note would be on the upbeat, diddly da da da. If we're playing this straight, ba da dee ba doo ba da boo dat, diddly da da da, right?
Mhm.
But we're swinging. So you say, well, okay, then it's got to be tripletized. Every single rhythm has to be tripletized. So how do I tripletize that? You say, well, okay, the triplets on the downbeat, so that should be 2/3, and the G's on the upbeat, so that should be 1/3. Okay, right. Ooh, that means I have to try to figure out how to divide a triplet over 2/3 of a beat. Oh, where's my calculator?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't have to think of it that way. Instead, I would if we really wrote the rhythm the way it should be written, it would be an eighth, 2/16, and an eighth with all barred together, like it would look in 6/8, 6/8. Ba da da ba da da da, ba da da ba da da da. So in other words, I would play the first note of that triplet a full third of the beat. In other words, I'd hold it pretty long, and then I'd throw those little notes in between and end up with the last note of the figure. And so here's how I practice. I go dot da boo day dot dot da boo day dot dot ba you day dot bop da you day dot. And in reality, what this is a jazz turn. It could have been written as 2/8 notes with an actual turn symbol,
Okay.
and it would be played exactly the same way as if it's written like this. This is an odd thing, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but no surprises here that we don't very often play anything the way it actually looks anyway.
Right.
And you definitely don't play this like it looks.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that at all.
No.
Down out of the dot.
Ba-do-de dot,
Mm,
ba-do-de dot. So you have to put a tenuto on the first note, and then you just have to throw the little notes in between. Ba-do-de, ba-do-de. And here's the thing about a jazz turn. Classical turn is 4 additional notes. You're going to go up a note, back to the principal note, down a note, back to the principal note, then on to the next written note.
yeah.
In jazz, a turn is only 2 additional notes. We just go up one note and then back to the principal note.
Okay.
So I would play that the same whether it was written like this or whether it had a turn symbol.
Okay. Cool.
And the
And
way to
that,
practice that, really, the way to get kids to do that, is I would have them play, straighten it out, take out those extra notes and just play it as 2/8 notes. Ba ba boo de dot, ba ba boo de dot. Then throw the 2 notes in. Ba ba doo de dot. But see, those 2 notes don't really interfere with the rhythm we already got going.
mhm,
Ba ba boo de, ba ba doo de. It's still the same basic rhythm.
right, which is how it swings. So
Yeah,
that makes sense.
exactly. So you don't have to worry about trying to make a triplet fit over 2/3 of the beat, but you do need that second, or that last note. It's got to come on the last third of the beat for swing. See,
Yeah.
so then you got to take up the time on the front half. But the way you do that is play the first note a full third, and then play the 2 little added notes as a third. But bam, you did up.
Yeah.
All right, so that's an oddity, but
Cool.
you'll see it. It does happen. And it can be written either way, either with the symbol, like I say, or this way.
Mhm.
Now, um, I dealt with that in chapter 23 of my saxophone pedagogy book, although I included that video in the jazz playlist too. And it's about jazz effects, how to perform jazz effects, which would be a really good one for you to watch. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
includes demonstrations of that.
Mhm. The effects one. Okay. I haven't listened to that one yet. I watched the articulation one and the listening. Uh,
Yeah, great.
That's when all wind players.
That articulation video is, I think, one of the most important ones. It's just really good.
Yeah, there's a lot
Get
of
all
good.
that stuff together. Yeah.
Cool.
So just a review of those principles. Number 1, running 8th notes. Tongue up beats, sort of downbeats. If there's a top note of a contour, it may involve more tonguing. It definitely involves accenting. Uh, the lowest note of the contour, ghosted. Uh, Second principle, dot notes. Dot notes are on the upbeat before a rest, or almost all quarter notes, especially syncopated quarter notes. However, one downbeat quarter note, not syncopated, one downbeat quarter note can go either way, depending on the taste, your taste, and the context of it.
Mhm.
I'll give you an example of that. Here, Sammy Nestico. You might have heard this chart before. Ba 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 da boo da doo da. Now right there, he's marked it long. Ba da boo da. There's your quarter note on the downbeat. Ba da boo da doo da. It would be equally valid to go ba da boo da boo da.
Mhm.
But the way Nestico marked it, I would do it ba da boo da doo da. It's just more melodic, I think, to have a long note right there.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Are you familiar with Sammy Nestico and his charts?
Yes, yes, I am.
You know
Uh,
that he died in January.
yeah, I just heard that because I received an email last Thursday, Friday, Jazz Appreciation International Appreciation Day, I guess on Friday, and there's a video
Yeah.
somebody put together one of his charts.
We did our first concert this semester with Synthesis. We did the whole concert as a tribute to Nestico, played all Nestico stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've done some Mexico with my group here. I'm trying to
Yeah. They're very accessible to schools, and that's why. And he's written like 650 charts for schools.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that's super cool.
And sometimes kids will get the attitude, oh yeah, it's kind of a high school chart because their high school band tried to play it. And it's like, no, no, no. Count Basie played this. These are professional charts. They're just written well. So they're written so well that you can do it with a school band because
Yeah,
they're playable. They're actually playable.
yeah,
Stuff that's poorly written is hard to play.
yeah. Yep, that makes sense. Get my oxygen back on here.
So
I'm
now,
back. I hear you.
what would be ideal is if you could pick up your horn and
Yeah,
play just a few bars of each of these.
from the knee house, or
Yeah, the knee house.
yeah,
And where the stuff's too high, I mean, high C is pretty high on a French horn.
yes.
You know, play it down an octave or just play different notes. I don't care, but I just want to hear what you're doing with articulation.
Okay. Care which one I start on, or
Let's just do a sample of each of them. We'll just do a
okay.
few bars of each of them right from the beginning.
There you go. No, excuse me. One.
So that range isn't working very well. Let's just do number two. I think the range is a little better there.
That'll work a little better.
Okay.
Okay, now, water out of it. There you go.
So how long is a dot note? And see, the answer to that is it's relatively fat, but that's compared to whatever tempo you're at. So if you're at this tempo, ba dot ba doo boo da dot, it's pretty fat. If I was fast, ba dat ba da ba da dat ba dat ba da boo da dat, it's going to be shorter relatively, but still fat compared to the rest of the notes. It's not skinny.
Okay, so I was playing it too skinny.
In most cases, yeah.
Mostly.
And be
Okay.
sure, as I say to the students, you only get full credit for a tongue cutoff if the pressure is still up when your tongue hits.
Uh-huh.
I mean, fully up. It hasn't started to decay when your tongue hits.
Fine. Let me try that little line again.
Yeah, that's a lot better. Be careful about this. Ba dot ba ba da. There should be no short note there. Even though we're slurring
Okay.
da da da, it's still all connected. Do do do, not do do do.
Right, right.
Yes, that was excellent. Yeah. So the dots are truly square and they're fat,
Yeah.
and the notes in between are connected. And jazz is very legato. It's surprising to some people because they listen to jazz and then in their mind's ear they hear it as, no, I heard a lot of percussive short stuff and everything. Well, it is more percussive. It's kind of an interesting juxtaposition between legato and percussiveness. You wouldn't get it quite that way in a classical style,
Right.
but it's super legato, except when it's percussive.
Yeah, yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah. And that's the hard part with the kids because you have them play an eighth note scale and they go ba ba da ba da ba da ba da ba da. No, no, no.
Yeah,
Ba ba da ba da boo da ba da ba dee ba da boo da. Got to be connected.
yeah, yeah.
No decay on your downbeat long notes.
And that's all about the air, right? That's I mean that's what defines that.
It's all about air, and it's also about having the tongue not sit on the reed too long. I've faced both issues where the air is going, and you want the air to be, but it can also happen if my tongue sits there. I'm
Okay.
still, I'm still pressurized. I'm still blowing.
Right, but the tongue's staying there too
My
long.
tongue's sitting on the reed too long. So I try to get the kids to say no, except when you do the dot and you want that tongue to come on the end of the note. I want the tongue to be like touching a hot stove. Do 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 do. It needs to be oriented to getting away from, not getting to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
So it's a combination of having the tongue be right and having the air be right.
Right.
Yeah. But I want the kids to be able to tongue every note too and still do that. Do 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 do. Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That makes
Oh,
sense.
it's tricky. Definitely tricky. Uh,
But it makes it sound so much better. So
is it too low if you played number 4 down an octave?
number four, probably not too bad.
Okay. Your first note, your very first note went da 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 da. What I tell the kids, there's no such thing as that sound in this style. You don't go da. There's no such thing as that. It's either dot or it's da do dot. It's
Yeah,
either it's really sustained through, or else it's tongue cut off square, but it's never just sort of an end that doesn't have any ending on it.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Thanks for that.
Yeah, good. And then give me a little more solid tongue on do dot on the dot note. There.
There,
That
that
was
was
a pretty good one.
thanks for
Yeah.
that little thing again.
Uh-huh. So when I'm watching your dots, I
Mhm.
see the pressure in your face dissipate really quick.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm wishing that would follow through just a little bit more.
Yeah, I keep noticing my dots are probably a lot shorter than they should be, skinny instead of
Yeah,
down.
they're fat.
So
And I try to help the kids understand follow through because you need to follow through with the air pressure past the time the sound stops.
okay.
And then I use this as an example. Most of them have shot a basketball. I say,
Yeah.
okay, when you shoot that basketball at the hoop, when you're shooting, the ball leaves your hand about here. Is that where you stop your hand? No, the ball leaves my hand about here, and I follow through. That's the kind of thing you got to follow through with on your when you're doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, that
And,
makes sense.
and by the way, this is a parenthetical, but for years I thought I'm dealing with kids all the time, like the air is like not really constant. It's like if I and I said this to a lot of students, if I could just take a picture of your airstream, you would realize that it's going. It's not carrying through. And then it hit me one day. I can take a picture of the airstream. All I got to do is record this in GarageBand or whatever other
Okay.
recording program, and I've got a waveform right there that says, "Look what you just did right here with the air."
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
And so I've used this with quite a few students where I'll say, "All right," and I don't tell them I'm doing this. Usually, I just record it, and just get it going, and they'll play maybe one of the knee houses. It's like da 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 da, and there's not carry through on longer notes, and then I will record it do do dot do 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 dot, and then we look at the difference in the waveforms.
Yeah. Oh,
It's like,
fascinating.
oh, yeah, my waveforms keep going like this, and yours are like more square. Exactly.
That's really cool. Yeah.
You will have in your waveform, you will have a when you tongue, but it's on the longer notes or the sustained notes where you can see that, yeah, it's not holding up, it's
Right.
decaying down. Um, here's another thing I've been doing with kids. Okay, we're just playing with the air string. And instead of no, can't play very long this way. You run out of air quick. But
Right.
and it's amazing what I've been able to get kids to do once I have them do that without even making any sound, and they can just hear the air and they say, "Oh man, I see what you mean."
Right. Yeah. It's very clear when you demonstrate it like that. Very clear.
Yeah. So if I'm usually I can say this to a kid and they kind of get it, but if I'm having any trouble at all, I'll record it in GarageBand. We'll look at waveforms, or I'll have them blow just through the horn with no tone, just air, stuff like that.
Very cool. I'm gonna have to try doing some of that, just like comparing the waveforms. I like
Yeah.
that stuff a lot.
And realize you will see a dent in the waveform in your tongue, but in between, is it staying up or is it tapering all the time?
Yeah.
And here's one other thing I'll do. I'll say, play that first note. And usually here's what happens. I say, just hold the first note. Did you hear what happened? What? Did you hear that just kind of dropped in volume and gradually decayed away? Just. I said, no. Can you hold it out?
Right.
That's the kind of blowing I want you to do. No decays. Oh, I forgot I have this. That's why things aren't working like they're supposed to. I got this key leaves thing in here that ruins everything. You know?
Right.
And if we took the air out of there, constant flow of air, constant pressure. And even when my tongue's on the reed, it's still going. Here's another thing about the dots, Jeremy, that's kind of surprising. It's like I said to a kid, you realize that it's the dot that actually keeps the line going? What? Really? I mean, that sounds totally backwards.
Right.
You're telling me to cut with my tongue and square the note off, and that keeps the line going?
Yeah.
I said, okay, check this out. I'm going to play a line where I don't square with the tongue. I'm going to play it with the tongue cutoffs. The tongue cutoffs are what's making that line work,
Yeah. It makes a huge difference.
which seems totally paradoxical, but yeah. And if I'm not doing the tongue cutoffs, then I have these decays.
Right. Yeah. And then things aren't connected.
Yep, they're not part of the style.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Okay, this is why I think it's important to have you blow a few of them because I give you more feedback on. It's not like you're not understanding it, but then okay, do you realize that you're doing this or not doing that?
Right. Right. It makes me want to sit down and like really practice it because
Yeah.
I realize I can understand maybe on the page and talk about it, but yeah, getting
Just play a little. Just play a little bit of number 10, and you can put it down an octave or whatever.
Yeah.
You can even just play the same thing all on the same note and play a down a fifth or something if you want, whatever works. But I just want to hear how you're doing the articulation.
Ooh, that was not.
Yeah, you played like 2.5 bars all in one breath stroke. Beautiful. I mean, you were playing dots in there, but you were not letting your pressure back off. That's perfect.
Good. That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
I lost it there a little bit, yeah, but
Then you needed to take a breath about 2.5 bars in, but that's
right.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. But you kept it going like that. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. I've forgotten what it is. That pressure doesn't let off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what makes the line really work, actually. And you
It
know that,
makes sense. It's because it's the air that's making the sound happen anyway.
yeah.
If the air is always going, then the line can still live.
And as soon as you go, there's no way for that to have the line work.
Right. Yeah, this is so good. I thinking back to some of the things I've said to my students, I can see how it's probably pushed them towards playing it that way instead of playing it the right way. You know, like thinking about the dot and the square, but focusing too much on the tongue as opposed
Yeah.
to the air.
Yeah. Yeah. For that really mature sound in the lines, it's constant air pressure. And then, of course, you take a breath periodically, but then
Right.
back to constant air pressure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this is very useful. Why don't you go ahead and follow up on this and do like 11 through 20?
Yep, I'll do that.